Picture yourself stepping out of your car on a cool April evening in 1981. Pine needles crunching under your shoes while the last orange streaks fade behind the Sierra foothills. You inhale that sharp mountain air, the kind that normally whispers peace. Yet tonight something else rides the breeze, something almost electric. Have you ever felt a place hold its breath? That is Keddie, California, a railroad resort barely bigger than a postage stamp. In a few hours, Cabin 28 will turn from cheerful vacation hideaway to the focus of one of the most perplexing murder cases in American history, and you're about to walk through every chilling moment. First, you need to understand the layout, because the floor plan is practically a character in this story. Imagine a small single-story rectangle. To your left as you enter is the living room, couch against the window, battered coffee table, hulking Zenith television humming in the corner. Straight ahead, a narrow hallway splits off to 3 bedrooms. The kitchen sits open to your right, its back door leading to dense forest that swallows light even at noon. Sound carries strangely here. Laughter from one room can vanish before it crosses the hallway, so when people later insist they heard nothing, you'll remember the quirks of this modest cabin. April 11th, 1981. Sue Sharp, 36, single mother of 5, guides her teenage daughter Sheila to a sleepover next door around 10 p.m. You tag along, note the easy chatter, the slam of the screen door, nothing abnormal. Back at Cabin 28, Sue's sons, 15-year-old John and his buddy, Dana Wingate, lounge on the couch, planning to hitchhike into nearby Quincy. Little sister Tina, 12, curls under a blanket watching television with younger siblings Rick and Greg. It feels exactly like every small-town Saturday, unremarkable, half-bored, full of routine. No one realizes a ticking clock has just started. Midnight approaches. John and Dana return through the front door. You listen to their footsteps cross the living room. A quick laugh, refrigerator door creak, muffled conversation drifting down the hallway. Outside, cabins sit hushed, guests asleep after a day of fishing and beer. You might picture porch lights glowing like watchful eyes, yet those eyes will claim to see nothing. Somewhere beyond the timberline, or maybe hiding right behind the cabin, a figure waits who knows this family, knows the shortcuts in the dark, maybe even knows the strange acoustics that swallow screams. What happens between roughly midnight and 2 a.m. is a jigsaw you will keep turning over. At some point, assailants, police later consider 2, maybe 3, enter the front door without forcing a lock. Could they have been invited in? You imagine Sue on the couch, TV still flickering. A sudden confrontation, voices rising, children stirring. Remember the wall's numb sound. Authorities will find no neighbors woken by shouting, yet inside the living room the scene turns savage. Ligatures cut from medical tape, bed sheets used like crude restraints. Sue, John, and Dana are beaten, stabbed, and ultimately left intertwined near the hearth. The violence is frenzied but curiously selective. Here's the part that anchors the legend. In the boys' bedroom, Rick and Greg, aged 10 and 5, sleep untouched. Their friend Justin Smart, staying over, apparently dozes through everything. Across the resort, Sheila finishes her sleepover and will return home at dawn. Tina, though, disappears entirely. No one sees her taken. Imagine the hush after the killer's exit. Only the refrigerator hum. A floorboard settling. Perhaps a distant freight train rattling down the canyon. Hours later, Sheila pushes open the front door, expecting breakfast smells. Instead, she freezes at the sight of her brother and mother, lifeless. bound with tape and appliance cords. You feel her heartbeat slam as she retreats, screaming. Deputies from Plumas County arrive. Inside, they encounter blood spatter up the walls, knife marks on wooden beams, a hammer bent almost 90 degrees from force. They collect a single bloody fingerprint on a door frame and a dull-handled steak knife left on a side table as though placed deliberately. Yet in the chaos, evidence handling falters. Cigarette butts, possible DNA gold, get trampled. Crime scene photos later go missing. One deputy allows volunteers to begin cleaning before state investigators finish charting patterns. You find yourself shaking your head even 4 decades later, wondering how many answers seeped away with that bleach water. Now comes the parade of statements. Justin, the child guest, first says he slept through the attack, then dreams fragments of men with moustaches, shiny knives, a fight near the couch. Under hypnosis, yes, hypnosis, he describes 2 assailants, one with slicked back hair, one wearing army-style glasses. Other residents claimed they saw a green van idling at dawn, or a pair of strangers at the bar earlier bragging about payback in Keddy. Each story bends slightly under questioning. You start to feel the case shifting like sand, stable one moment, scattered the next. Why did no one hear screams? Could it be that the killers kept the family subdued with threats to the children? Remember the insulation and the pine air, the way sound fizzles out beyond the tree line. Still, you ponder the sheer duration. Medical examiners estimate the attack may have lasted an hour. An hour. In a resort community with cabins 20 feet apart. Does silence come from acoustics or from people choosing not to listen? The question hovers over every interview, every transcript. Suspicion soon narrows on 2 local men, Martin Smart, Justin's stepfather, and his house guest, Bo Bubed, an ex-Chicago enforcer. Martin complains to friends that Sue meddled in his marriage. Hours after the murders, he burns a black jacket in his wood stove, then shows up at therapy confessing vague guilt. Bo sports a matching army-style flat top and glasses, just like Justin's hypnosis vision. Yet the sheriff lets them walk after a polygraph he later calls inconclusive but truthful. You can almost hear opportunities slam shut. Files go missing next. A whole case folder vanishes from the Plumas County Courthouse. The bloody hammer, lost for decades. The green van, never tracked. You begin to suspect a cover-up, but by whom? Some whisper the sheriff was Bo's war buddy. Others say drug trafficking rings ran through Keddy, and the Sharps saw something they shouldn't. Without records, rumors blossom unchecked. Have you noticed how mystery fills every void it's given? For 35 years, the story lingers like campfire smoke, escaping every attempt at resolution. Then in 2016, new deputies reopened the evidence locker. Technology has leaped forward, and that single bloody fingerprint finally meets modern DNA testing. The profile points to, of all people, Martin Smart. Investigators also unearth a second hammer in a nearby pond matching wounds on the victims. Suddenly the puzzle edges start snapping together. But there's a catch. Martin died in 2000, Bo in 88. Closure arrives, but feels late and incomplete, like a phone call with the last word missing. Later that same year, hunters discovered Tina's skull miles away in Feather Falls. The killer had driven her deep into the forest, perhaps hoping distance would dissolve evidence. Yet even this gruesome revelation refuses to name the driver with certainty. DNA on tape near her remains degrades in the mountain heat. You listen to the wind in those trees and wonder if it's carrying a confession nobody will ever hear. Today, Cabin 28 no longer stands. The county demolished it in 2016, claiming safety hazards. Still, you can visit the empty lot and feel the geography resonate. Locals rarely speak openly, but in quiet moments they hint that everyone somehow knew. Maybe the silence wasn't acoustical after all. Maybe it was communal. A silent pact to protect their own, even if their own had blood on their hands. If you lived here, would you have broken ranks or pulled the curtains tighter? So what sticks with you as you drive away down the Serpentine Canyon Road? Perhaps it's the reminder that evil often walks on familiar feet, or that justice delayed can morph into justice denied. More likely, it's the echo of unanswered questions, each one brushing the back of your neck like cold fog. Could advanced forensics finally close the book? Or will Keddy keep its last secret sealed beneath those pines? You decide, because in stories like this, the listener becomes the final investigator. Remember the names Sue, John, Dana, and Tina, and remember that silence is never neutral.